It is late winter in England, February of 1993, and the light over Merseyside carries a dull, metallic quality, as if the sky itself has been worn thin by years of rain and industry. Liverpool is a city in transition, still bearing the economic scars of the 1980s, its docks quieter than they once were, its shopping centres newly built but already crowded with the routines of everyday life. On a Friday afternoon, the Strand shopping centre in Bootle hums with ordinary movement, parents pushing prams, teenagers drifting between stores, the low, constant echo of footsteps on tile. Nothing in the air suggests that within hours this place will be spoken of in whispers, revisited in courtrooms, and examined for decades as the starting point of one of Britain's most disturbing criminal cases. James Patrick Bolger is 2 years old. He has blue eyes, a round face, and the unsteady confidence of a toddler who has only recently learned to walk without holding on. That afternoon, he is with his mother, Denise Bolger, moving through the shopping centre as she runs errands. Like countless parents before and after her, Denise believes she is in a controlled, familiar space. The Strand is enclosed, busy, public. The danger, if it exists at all, feels distant and abstract. It is during a brief moment of distraction, measured later in seconds rather than minutes, that James wanders away. CCTV cameras mounted high above the concourse record what human memory will later struggle to reconstruct. The footage is grainy, black and white, impersonal. It shows James being approached by 2 older boys, 10-year-olds whose names will become known across the world. They take his hand. At first, it almost looks gentle, almost protective. The 3 figures move away from the camera's view, small silhouettes swallowed by the architecture of the shopping centre. This is the last confirmed image of James, alive. At the time, no one watching the monitors sees anything unusual. Children walk, with children all the time. Siblings, cousins, neighbours. The idea that 2 boys barely out of primary school could pose a serious threat does not register because it does not fit with how society understands childhood. It is this assumption, as much as any individual action, that shapes what follows. When Denise realizes James is missing, panic arrives quickly. Security is alerted. The police are called. Doors are checked, corridors searched, names shouted into the noise of the shopping centre. At first, the search is local, contained, hopeful. Missing toddlers are often found hiding behind racks of clothing or wandering into nearby stores. But as minutes stretch into hours, the tone shifts. Officers begin to expand the perimeter. James's description is broadcast. His face appears on television screens across the region by that evening. What investigators do not yet know is that James has already been led far beyond the shopping centre. Witnesses will later recall seeing a small boy crying, being guided along roads, across canal paths, past bus stops and warehouses. Some remember him resisting, sitting down, refusing to walk. 2 days later, James Bolger's body is found on a railway line in Walton. The location is bleak, industrial, removed from the warmth and noise of the shopping centre where the story began. Police officers at the scene understand immediately that this is not an accident. The injuries indicate sustained violence. The details, while carefully handled in official statements, confirm that James was killed deliberately. As the investigation intensifies, public attention becomes relentless. Media coverage is continuous, speculative, emotional. And then, within days, the narrative shifts again. Police identify the 2 boys seen in the CCTV footage. They are arrested and questioned. When their ages are confirmed, the country recoils. 10 years old, not teenagers, not young adults, children by every legal and cultural definition. The idea that children could be responsible for such extreme violence forces a confrontation with questions most people would rather avoid. Are these boys capable of understanding what they did? Where does responsibility lie? With them, with their families, with society itself? The trial that follows is unprecedented. Held in an adult court, adapted awkwardly for its youngest defendants, it unfolds under intense scrutiny. The boys sit elevated on cushions so they can see over the dock. They fidget. They whisper to their lawyers. At times they appear bored. At others, frightened. The courtroom becomes a stage on which competing interpretations of childhood, morality, and culpability are played out. Prosecutors present a detailed timeline built from CCTV footage, forensic evidence, and witness testimony. The journey from the shopping centre to the railway line is reconstructed step by step, minute by minute. Defence lawyers argue diminished responsibility, pointing to the boys' backgrounds, their exposure to violence, neglect, and instability. Psychologists are called to explain developmental capacity, impulse control, moral reasoning. Each expert adds nuance, but no explanation feels sufficient. The gap between understanding and acceptance remains wide. Outside the courtroom, public opinion hardens. Newspapers publish the boys' names and photographs. Headlines speak of evil, of lost innocence, of monsters in childhood form. The language is absolute, leaving little room for ambiguity. It is easier, perhaps, to believe in aberration than to confront the possibility that something ordinary could produce something so catastrophic. When the verdict comes, the boys are found guilty of murder. They are sentenced to detention at Her Majesty's pleasure, a legal phrase that offers flexibility but little clarity. The judge speaks of punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation, attempting to balance principles that strain under the weight of the case. For Denise Bolger, no sentence can restore what has been taken. For the public, the decision answers some questions while opening many more. In the years that follow, the James Bolger case refuses to settle into history. It resurfaces repeatedly whenever discussions arise about juvenile justice, media responsibility, or the nature of violence itself. The identities of the two boys are changed upon their release, protected by court order, a decision that sparks ongoing controversy. Reports of breaches, sightings, and alleged reoffending circulate, blurring the line between verified information and rumour.